Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. In this podcast, we'll be having discussions around the secrets which attract lasting, healthy, fulfilling relationships, creating a healthy mindset, and what women should know and understand about men. Introducing your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts, relationship expert, trainer, speaker, and best-selling author of the Cupid's Bow technique. Lyn's mission is to have a positive impact in reducing divorce, domestic violence, and suicide.
Welcome to the HEARTS Entwined podcast. This is your host, Lyn Smith, the Queen of Hearts. And today, listeners, I'm really delighted to announce I've got a fantastic relationship coach. His name is Lionel Moses. And today we're going to be talking about what is the mirror effect. So Lionel, warm welcome to the podcast.
Lyn, thanks for having me on. I'm truly excited, to speak with you today and, discuss the mirror effect.
Excellent, because I think there's going to be a lot of people that are thinking, I've tuned into this, but what is the mirror effect and how can it, help me transform a future relationship or my current relationship? So first of all, what would it mean to you in explaining what is the mirror effect?
Well, I would describe the mirror effect as, being able to look into the mirror and actually know who you're looking at, know what you're looking at, and, understanding that person that's looking back at you. It sounds strange, because when you're looking in the mirror, you're looking at yourself, but what I found, throughout my life and, just speaking with my friends and families that, we see outward with our eyes, but to see inward, you really have to take an intentional effort to see who's out there. And that's you.
Absolutely. And I think we forget ourselves in the process of entering into relationships because we're not actually educated about this in schools and we're not taught by our parents. And quite often our parents aren't particularly good role models for what a healthy relationship is anyway, are they?
Not at all. I know mine wasn't. Yeah, you learn, I've learned throughout the years that, you learn from the good, you learn from the bad, so your role models may not be great, but, you have to have the wisdom to put them in the right place. Okay, learn lessons, what to do and what not to do, and, looking at yourself and how will you apply, how would you react in that situation?
Absolutely. I recently, I think, put a post up about, instead of looking for the perfect partner, look at, being the perfect partner.
Absolutely. 100% agree with that one. And, that's, Lyn, that's exactly what the mirror effect is about. Until you know who you are, you can't be the perfect partner for anyone. Life itself, is full of changes, ups and downs, seasons, and we change throughout each season in different periods in our life. You have to know yourself and how you move and how you operate to be a perfect partner, because the partner that you choose outwardly, may be good for today, but will they be good for tomorrow? And unless, you can truly look in the mirror and see who you are, how you operate and how you move, you may find the right partner for today, but will you be the right partner for them today and tomorrow?
Exactly. And I think quite often we miss ourselves in the equation of relationships, even friendships and, dynamics within our families. We sort of don't really look at how we are contributing to a challenging situation, for example, and what's, and what is it that we can take accountability for?
That's a really great question, Lyn, and it's extremely hard to answer. But what I want to reflect on here is our primary relationship we have is with ourselves. Before we know mom, and that's the first person we meet coming out of the womb, before we know mom, we know ourselves because we spent time with ourselves and within mom for 9 months, but we don't reflect on ourselves later on. And when you go to therapists and you go to counselors, a lot of times when you talk to them, you hear a lot of they talk about people that have a problem with people pleasing. I think that we will be better off if we knew ourselves, where we can please ourselves, and then we would innately and organically please those that honestly are worthy of what we give to them.
I 100% agree. Quite often we sort of brought up, I don't, and this is all subconscious because we're not normally aware of what's going on. But
Right.
for me, I can remember going through phases in my life where I've wanted that external validation instead of giving it to myself, validating myself before I got on this sort of personal growth, personal development path. I hadn't even known about any of this stuff. So that's why I'm sort of really excited to educate people around it with people and great guests like yourself. And so I feel that quite often, unintentionally, we're always looking for people to validate us, and we're quite internally conscious of what do they really think of us, sort of type that dialogue going on, rather than, you know what, you're a great person, look in your mirror and validate that you look beautiful today, and that energy then is going to radiate out, and on the back of that you'll attract great people anyway.
I definitely agree with it. Lynn, you said something, very wise early on, and I hope your listeners caught that. You know, this type of thing is not taught in schools. It's rarely taught within families, So and I'm talking about the internal validation. I'm sorry. The internal validation is not taught in schools. It's not taught in families. The mirror effect is not taught anywhere. So what we're taught, or should I say what I've been taught early on in life was, external validation, appreciating other people, sharing as a kid in, preliminary school, but never to look at myself and say, you're great. I may have had someone tell me I'm great, but to be able to, say, affirm myself is a wonderful thing. And that, puts us in an emotionally healthy space when we can honestly look in the mirror and say, I am beautifully and wonderfully made.
I think some people are going to be listening to this and say, "Oh, I'd struggle with that. I'd struggle with looking in the mirror and validating myself because I'm not used to having that dialogue with myself." And no, that's okay, because we've all done that, haven't we? We've all struggled with it at some point on our journey where, we've looked in the mirror and thought, I can't actually look in the mirror and say I love that person staring back at me, because it just doesn't feel comfortable. And it doesn't feel comfortable because you're not used to and have never been used to doing it for yourself.
Absolutely agree with that. One of my mentors said to me before, he's like, you have to realize that more things that we experience in life, more things that we learn in life are caught more than they're taught. And, I've never really seen it modeled before me of, someone affirming themselves and telling themselves how good they are, looking in the mirror and appreciating themselves for who they are, the good, the bad, and the difference. And the reason why I like to mention the bad part is because unless you truly acknowledge that and you're honest with yourself about it, you can't change it. And even if there's some things in you that's not perfect, and as a human being, I don't think anyone's perfect, but unless you acknowledge that, you can't fix it because you're too busy covering it up and hiding it. But love yourself with that part. Just know that, okay, there's a change required, but there's still a lot of value in me. The internal validation is everything, because the efforts that I put into anything is going to be reflective of who I am. So if I can give 110%, to work, to school, to reading, to loving other people, but do I give the same to myself by taking care of my body, taking care of, the way I look? And even if I am the most beautiful, special looking person in the world, I have to love me because, this is what I have. This is who I am. And, I'm just a firm believer that everyone is a gift to the planet and has a purpose. And love yourself for that.
I absolutely agree with that. And, we've come to, I suppose, be indoctrinated, haven't we, into, I suppose, being critical of ourselves because of the media and images that we're seeing, and, words that are said to us as we're growing up as to what is considered beautiful. And that's all, it's true that it's always in the eye of the beholder. You don't have to criticize yourself because you're not a specific size or height or skin color even, or, ability. we're all unique, and just be thankful that you're uniquely you.
Absolutely. And it's ironic that we feel, I'm going to say, for lack of better words, judgmental towards ourselves because we don't fit the mold that media portrays for us. But if you ever went to a museum and you looked at artwork, it's the abstract stuff, it's the different stuff that stands out. And honestly, it's the most valuable. So you get a painting that looks like a 2-year-old just threw paint against the wall, and you'll see, you'll see artists from all over the world. Oh my gosh, how beautiful it is! Why aren't we the same way with each other, with ourselves? Why do we have to fit a mold?
Yeah,
It's
and
it's the unique pieces of art that have value. So
yeah,
we're valuable.
absolutely. And I think it's all just down to our human conditioning, unfortunately, that the way we've been socialized to perceive ourselves has not done us any favors, which is really sad, because you see some really beautiful people who are very insecure. You even see, what you would perceive from a magazine cover, let's say, of a beautiful couple aesthetically, and think, oh, they must be really happy. But then when you read the article, they've got a really toxic relationship. So it isn't about being beautiful aesthetically, physically, that produces great relationships, is it?
Not at all. Everyone loves something beautiful. I love flowers. I love gardening. And I love nature. It's all beautiful. But when it comes down to human beings, to me, there's a lot of too much vanity put into it. You know, um, if you meet the mold, that's great. That's nice. But if your eyes are closed and you can't see the individual, it's the heart, the intent of the individual that I truly like to love and that I look for. I, if I can't see you and I can't touch you, the essence of your being speaks. And that's, to me, that's the true beauty, the inner beauty.
And that people don't actually believe that is a fact, but it is, because we're all giving off an energy, aren't we? And we know
Yes,
that
we
if we
are.
walk into a room sometimes, we can feel that there's either a bad atmosphere or a good atmosphere based on what's happening in that room and the energy that people are giving off in that room. So energy is also important and can be something that we're not necessarily aware of in another person, but certainly we can pick up on it, and know that we're getting a really great vibe from this person, and not necessarily because they're aesthetically, physically beautiful, but because there's the energy and that frequency and that harmony, and you just can't put your finger on it, but you feel great around them.
Absolutely. It's ironic that you spoke about that, because there are certain people that I can encounter, and it's just something about just being in their presence. No words have to be spoken. We don't have to be looking at each other, but just the energy that they give off just makes you it's just an awareness of their presence when they're there, and it brings a certain level of comfort. You know, again, beyond the aesthetics. And that's as I said, the essence of a being.
I also feel that we're not talking about here, and I think we need to stress that you need to be egotistical or arrogant about who you are and what you are,
Not
because
at
also
all.
that's not attractive
Not at
either, is
all.
it?
Not at all. Yeah, there has to be some modesty, and as I said, we're all beautiful. So you're no better than anyone else, and no one's any better than you. But to see the uniqueness in everyone, I believe, is the beauty of the world.
I can actually 100% agree with that. So, what I was taught by one of my mentors years ago, and I really liked it, was just be south of arrogantly. I thought,
Hmm.
I like
Hmm.
that.
Hmm. Absolutely, I love that. I love that.
And then you'll be exuding a sort of the right amount of confidence without it coming across as, you're being the big I am and who do you think you are type energy. But yes, I've always remembered that. Just be south of arrogant, and I thought, yeah, I'll remember that.
Hey, that's great advice. I'm going to write that down. So if you hear it again, yes, you said it first.
Thank you. Well, as I say, it was not my
Yeah.
that was somebody that taught me that. So, you know, nothing's new in the world, is it? We just discover things that previous masters have always
Mhm.
known. So
Mhm.
we don't know what we don't know until we do we?
Absolutely. That's, and that's that sort of thing that should keep us humble. You know,
Yes.
I like to always stay in the posture of a student always, because, if you're arrogant, no one's really going to want to tell you anything because they think you know everything, or they think you know everything.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
it goes back to, as you're saying, Lynn, the energy that you produce. I mean, it's if the energy that you give is welcoming and is open, people will want to innately and organically help you and be in your presence, and that strengthens every relationship. When I think about relationships, for me, I'm the type of person that wants to give 100% of who I am, and I like to challenge my partner to outdo me, because I won't let it happen, because I appreciate their presence. You know, I
Feel that
appreciate their
healthy
presence.
relationships are all around what you just said. You know, it's wanting to be a better person for your partner and them doing the same, you
Absolutely,
know, and
absolutely,
uplifting each other to be your best versions for each other.
absolutely agree with that one. Yeah. That's what relationships are all about. I help you, you help me, we accomplish what we want to accomplish together, and then celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel another important thing around, I suppose, acknowledging yourself and validating yourself is to be more aware all every day, and you know, be somebody who's an observer of your own self-talk and what you say about yourself.
Mhm. I think, well, one of the biggest problems that most people have is they're not emotionally healthy enough to look inwardly, love what they see, and then present it to the world. Because again, they're trying to fit certain molds that the media and society portray for them, instead of understanding that what I have is what I have, who I am is who I am, and loving that enough, to give what you need to give to this world, because we need you. We
Yeah.
need you.
I think it's quite sad today, actually, that people feel the need to use filters, for example, when they're actually doing a broadcast on YouTube or, you know, another social media platform to enhance, you know, whatever it is they don't like about themselves into something that they do like about themselves. So they look at more aesthetically, you know, like we've been talking about, beautiful. I find that really sad, especially when I see young people doing it and young people going to extremes to have body modifications and surgeries. And I'm thinking, it's really sad, you know, that we're not educated and brought up and parented to really love ourselves for the way we look and who we
Right.
are.
Yeah, that is definitely sad. And I think parenting in itself has took a step back. Because when you have parents using filters and modifying their pictures, as I said before, the kids are going to do the same thing. Good thing for my kids is, I'm not a good photographer, so I can't modify a picture. So if they learn it, they did not learn it from me. Now, and I have a teenage daughter, and she loves to put filters and like the funny faces on, and that's great. But I think the best thing that we can do sometimes for our kids is, and not just our kids, but our loved ones and our partners in relationships, is put the mirror in front of them so they can see, and let them know how beautiful they are.
Yes.
We really have to do that. So when they're looking at it, you're affirming what they're seeing. You're confirming, yes, it is beautiful. It is.
It is. I'm just hope, you know, that I suppose the trend for wanting cosmetic surgeries at younger and younger ages, and
Hmm.
wanting to put filters on our pictures, you know, at younger and younger ages, starts turning around, because I'd like to see, you know, today's children grow up but feeling wonderful about who they are and what they are, and looking absolutely as nature intended. And I'm not saying they shouldn't wear makeup if they want to wear makeup, but when there wasn't this availability sort of a couple of decades back, and
Right.
that's all you had was a bit of makeup to enhance your features, and that's what it was enhancing rather than changing permanently your features. It was a lot more healthier environment, I feel, that we grew up in.
It was definitely healthier, to me. Uh, just thinking about it from a practical perspective, you know, plastic surgery is surgery. And to put yourself at risk to obtain what you consider as beauty, to me, there's definitely something more on a psychological side that needs to be and should be investigated. Okay, why is it you feel, you know, you need to put your entire life at risk
Mm.
to lose something that you're created with? I mean, anytime your body's opened up, and I'm no doctor, please, I'm no doctor, but anytime you're cut open, you risk infection. You risk all types of disease. And if the surgery doesn't go right, and we've heard stories about that as well, you have to live with that choice. Stay beautiful as you are. That's just how I feel.
Yeah.
Because the risk of being injured or hurt, because of it and due to a surgery. And I know that doctors always let you know how low some of the risks are, and the risks are low. But when you cut something open, there's that adds to the risk.
100% agree, and 99.9% it's totally unnecessary. Obviously if people are born deformed, or they've been
Mhm.
injured, or they've been burned up, for example. I can understand why people would need and want cosmetic surgery, but for the rest of us, it's just, I feel it's such a shame that we just don't love ourselves for being who we are naturally as we look.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me either, because it's not cheap.
No.
So you to invest that much money into, take a vacation and enjoy yourself, you know, instead of, and again, and this is just my opinion, just enjoy yourself, surround yourself with loved ones, and you know, you'll learn your beauty better.
And quite often it's not enough, is it? People start on these procedures, and then they have to keep doing it and doing it and doing it, or
Right.
it sort of becomes an addiction somehow.
Mhm.
And then when do you stop? And it just makes me feel really sad. And I hope that people going forward will start educating our kids to love themselves for who they are, and that won't be something they'll even be remotely interested in as they grow up.
I agree 100% with what you said. You know, aging is natural, and if you get surgery at 30, in order to maintain that look, you're definitely going to need to have it again. And I can't speak for all men in the world, but I can speak for myself and a couple my couple friends, is that most of us really don't need the plastic surgery. Meaning, when I say don't need it, meaning we don't really care if a woman have that plastic surgery. We're looking for the true beauty, that goes beyond the physical.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I believe most relationships should have more substance than just the visual effect.
Yeah, I honestly am so aligned with what you're saying there. So thank you so much, Lionel. How would people, if they're interested in connecting with you, contact you?
The best way to reach me would be on my website, lionelmoses.com.
Thank you so much. And any final words around what is the mirror effect in transforming relationships topic?
Well, my final words for the mirror effect would simply be, you look into the mirror, whoever you're looking at is beautiful. Know that, and don't let anyone tell you anything else.
100%. And if you're listening to this now thinking, oh, I don't know if I can agree with that, know that again, it has to be affirmed regularly until it becomes a more concrete belief. We all start from somewhere, and you might not believe it to be true of yourself today, but if you keep internally affirming it for yourself regularly, it will be something that will become a concrete belief that will hold you in great stead going forward.
Awesome. I appreciate you, Lyn. Thank you very much.
It's been a fantastic conversation, Lionel. The time's gone so quick, and hopefully you can come on again as a guest, and we'll have another conversation either to expand more on this topic or to choose another topic that we can have a discussion about. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Lyn. I appreciate it. I look forward to speaking with you again. That'd be wonderful.
So just leave me to say that true love starts with opening our hearts. And until next time, goodbye for now.
Thanks for listening to the Hearts Entwined podcast. You can follow Lyn via the Facebook group 2 Hearts Entwined, or search Lyn Smith, inspirational speaker, at LinkedIn, or email lyn@hearts-entwined.com. That's LYN@hearts-entwined.com. Remember, true love starts with opening our hearts.